Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone, or it might be afternoon if you're watching this on the East Coast. It's Jill from PragerU Kids, and today is Tuesday, July 18th. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, right, Cam? My technical guru, yes, he nods his head and he gives me all the instructions. Very thankful for Cam today. We have not been live in a very long time, and I'm excited to be here because we have wonderfully wild headlines to talk about today in the world of education. Big headlines that we're going to be tackling are about the federal judge in California saying that schools are within their rights not to tell parents about the gender identity of students if the child does not want the parents to know. So that's one headline. Another headline we're going to be talking about is the former White House press secretary Jen Psaki saying that Moms for Liberty group is an extremist group, and we will circle back to those later. Circle back, right? Circle back. But first, I have to be very excited about this. Cam, can the people hear you on a microphone? No. Cam does not have a microphone. But if he did have a microphone today, I would ask him, Cam, ask me about the big announcement for PragerU Kids. And he would say, what's the big announcement for PragerU Kids, Jill? And I would say, our big announcement for PragerU Kids is that, drumroll, PragerU Kids is now an approved curriculum in Florida schools. I'm applauding because this is so exciting for all of us on the PragerU Kids team. We are an officially approved curriculum to be used in schools in the state of Florida, across the state, should teachers, educators, administrators want to include our PragerU resources, our books, our educational magazines about historical figures, our shows about civics or history, or even our storytime show, Otto's Tales, that really establish a foundation of cultural literacy for our youngest students. If teachers in Florida want to use our PragerU Kids materials, which are all free at PragerUKids.com, they are able to, and they will not be reprimanded. There cannot be pushback about it. We are an approved curriculum in Florida schools, and more states are following. Very soon, you can get all the updates and announcements in coming weeks. Subscribe for free to PragerUKids.com, and we will keep you updated when we will be an approved curriculum in a state near you. But for now, Florida, I'm applauding. This is a step in the right direction. Okay, let's get to our hot topic headlines of today. Oh, here is our PragerUKids.com website in case anyone is taking a look right now. We've got all of our shows for free, very easy to access. You can click on, here we go, Street Smarts, which is our civics series, and get educated about the office of the vice president, the electoral college, elections in the U.S., all the things that children are learning few and far between these days, but that is really knowledge that they need to have to become an informed citizen. Okay, let's get to our first hot topic headline for today, Tuesday, July 18th. You may have already heard about this. I pulled this article from edsource.org, and let's just get to it. A judge rejects suit to force California schools to report students' gender identity to parents. I'm going to read you the top of it for those of you who are listening, maybe instead of watching. A federal judge in Sacramento ruled that California is not violating parents' rights by requiring public schools to accept students' gender identities and to let them decide whether to inform their families, the San Francisco Chronicle reported. The state has a legitimate interest in creating a zone of protection for transgender students and those questioning their gender identity from adverse hostile reactions, including, but not limited to, domestic abuse and bullying. U.S. District Judge John Mendez wrote in a ruling dismissing a constitutional challenge to the state law. So you can access this article on source.org. You can also Google this article. California federal judge rejects a suit that forces California schools to report students' gender identity to parents. Basically, what this means is that this particular judge has said, hey, it is A-OK, and California schools are within their rights to not tell parents about any gender identity happenings or issues that their student may be experiencing at school. Think about that. This is not news for any of us. We know as parents that when we see headlines like this, where judges or school administrators or any kind of elected official pushes us away and rejects our God-given authority to direct the upbringing and education of our own children, we know that this is a punch in the gut. We know that this is, quite frankly, a slap in the face to all of us parents who are actively involved in our children's lives and are called to raise our children in a way that that reflects our values and our own moral codes. And to feel this punch in the gut is not only discouraging, it is terrifying, because what it is added confirmation that our state and our country are completely backwards. Completely backwards. Our state, our education system, our government is not on the side of parents who are actively engaged in raising our children. What happened to the days when the schools would actively seek parental engagement and actively seek partnership with parents? What happened to those days? If you are watching or listening to this and you are in an area where your school continues to engage parents and to partner with parents and continues to give parents the authority that is inherent to raise our children, please leave a comment. Tell me where you are. Tell me what schools and what school districts are upholding that value of parents raising children and the value of parents partnering with schools, because I need a little hope right now, okay? You know that all of us at PragerU and PragerU Kids are here in California fighting from the belly of the beast, depending on your support to course correct our education system, as so many of you have already risen to the occasion by subscribing to PragerUKids.com and supporting us through your donations so that we can continue to make wholesome content that's educational for kids. But tell me where these school districts are that continue to partner with parents, because I see headlines like this and my faith is challenged. I'm not gonna lie, as a mom, my faith is challenged. Tell me where you're at regardless. I want to get to my next point in this is jumping to the California Ed Code. If we go to the California Ed Code right now, I'm on the website, California Legislative Information. For all of the school districts who may not be honoring parental rights in California, despite this recent judge's ruling, I want to remind you of California Ed Code 51101. Write this down, screenshot your phone, whatever you need to do. I've pulled it up on the screen now. California Ed Code 51101. Let's read it. The parents and guardians of pupils enrolled in public schools have the right and should have the opportunity as mutually supportive and respectful partners in the education of their children within the public schools to be informed by the school and to participate in the education of their children as follows. So we have now all of the details, the bullet points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Look at all of these points that are outlining parents as partners with the school to observe the classroom or classrooms in which their child is enrolled, to meet with their child's teacher, to volunteer their time and resources, to be notified in a timely manner if their child is absent, to receive the results of their child's performance on standardized tests and statewide tests and information on the performance of the school that their child attends, to request a particular school for their child, to receive a response from the school district, to have a school environment for their child that is safe and supportive of learning. Right there, point number 7, to have a school, parents have the rights, as stated in California Ed Code 51101, as we see here, parents have the right to have a school environment for their child that is safe and supportive of learning. How is an environment safe for children to learn if that environment is keeping secrets from that child's own parents? It's a question we should all be asking. Because in the old-fashioned days, when I was a kid, here I go having an old lady moment, right? When in the old-fashioned days when I was a kid, if there was a person or an organization or an entity that said, we don't need to tell your parents about this, don't tell them, it'll be a secret between you and I, that person, organization, or entity was certifiably dangerous to the well-being of a child. Remember that. Remember that, parents, when you are dealing with a school that might be citing this recent federal judge's ruling in California saying that it is okay for a school to keep information about their own children from parents, especially when it concerns something as life-altering as gender identity. Remember that. All right, I want to look at the comments here on the Facebook page. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. It takes me a while. Tell me where you're from. Tell me if you're in a good school district or a bad school district. I hate to categorize it that way, and I hate to laugh because this is very serious, as we all know. But what else is there to do? Let me see if I can access the comments. Oopsies. Why can't I access the comments right now? Here I go. Watching, is this live? Yes, Patrick Kavanaugh Sr. This is live right now. It will be recorded and it will be on the Facebook page in days and weeks to come. I'm scrolling through the comments. PragerU, schools here in West Michigan are among the most evil. Dwayne. Okay. All right. Tell me where you're at. Let me see if I can access. I must block you, Rafi. You can block whoever you want. That is your freedom of speech, freedom of choice. All right. All right. Let's get to the next headline. Next headline is Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary, says that right-wing extremist groups like Moms for Liberty are overhauling education. Most of you watching or listening by now know who Moms for Liberty is. They are a nonprofit organization that that I happen to be friendly with. I've been a fan of their mission from the very beginning to get parents, not only moms, but moms and dads involved in local schools. They launched, I believe, at the beginning of 2021, about the same time that we launched PragerU Kids. They launched their endeavor to reopen the schools as they opened during the lockdowns of 2021, and their initial endeavor was to open the schools, and that of course evolved into getting involved in schools with removing explicit material from school libraries, pornographic content, comics with very explicit illustrations and pictures that are quite frankly do not belong in schools. Moms for Liberty has been accused of book banning. You know, there's that magic word, book banning. I've actually done a lot of research into the types of books that Moms for Liberty has been removing because I, for one, am not a fan of any kind of book banning. However, what I am a fan of is an organization saying, hey, this is explicit pornographic material that should not be available to minors in a school setting without a parent's consent. And I have been investigating many of the books that Moms for Liberty has been moving to remove from different schools. And I'm actually a fan for most of what Moms for Liberty does. You know, there's organizations where you don't necessarily agree with everything they do, and no one is expected to agree with everything they do. But many of the things that Moms for Liberty is doing, I personally happen to agree with them and applaud them for their bravery to remove explicit material from schools. Now, the headline here is with Jen Psaki and her MSNBC show. I'm going to pull it up on the screen right now because she says that groups for Moms for Liberty are extremists and she does not like the way they are overhauling of education. I'm going to put my headphones on. Here we go. And let's just take a listen to a bit of what she had to say on her show. Are we ready? Okay, we're going to play it.
Have all become the target of right-wing anger. First, it was the restrictions to their reaction to COVID restrictions, which then morphed into outrage over the teaching of race and identity, and outrage over CRT, critical race theory, which rapidly turned our education system into the front line of the right's ongoing culture war. That anger no doubt sparked the rise of organizations now focused on taking over school boards, pulling books from the shelves, and changing curriculums in schools across the country. In fact, according to a 2022 report from a nonprofit that tracks censorship in America, 70% of those organizations were formed in about an 18-month period, beginning at the start of 2021. Among the largest of these new groups, which you may have heard of, is Moms for Liberty. And it's recently become something of a political powerhouse. Just a few weeks ago, they hosted 5 Republican presidential candidates, including the frontrunners, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. They all came out for Moms for Liberty. Now, the group has declared itself as a nonpartisan organization, and its name does sound innocuous enough. Moms, great, sounds good. Liberty, awesome. Who doesn't like liberty? Moms for Liberty. As the mom of 2 young kids, that even sounds good to me. But it's vague enough that even some of its own members are pretty unclear as to what the group is really all about, what they're a part of. One mom who became...
There we go. Okay, so Jen Psaki is talking about Moms for Liberty, and she goes on in her MSNBC show to say that Moms for Liberty is dangerous and they're extremists. I'm actually trying to find the quote right now.
Shouting matches. As an attendee at one Florida meeting described, quote, "They turn around and scream at me that I am a commie and teachers want to see all kids fail. This group brings out the worst in people." The group says this work, all of this shouting, is the work of joyful warriors, is what they call it. Sounds a lot more to me like pretty aggressive harassment. And that behavior is not isolated. It's part of a bigger pattern. Chapters and members across the organization seem to later regret that apology.
I'm trying to find the clip.
Standing by a mom who quotes Hitler in a newsletter. People cheering for that. That's what you just saw.
Do some research into what that headline was actually about. I'm not going to get into it here, but...
And as for their claim that they are just a group of concerned, nonpartisan moms who happen to care about liberty, consider this. One of the founders, whose name is notably omitted from its website, is a current Republican school board member who is married to the now chairman of the Florida Republican Party. In 2021, he told the Washington Post, quote, "I have been trying for 12 years to get 20 and 30-year-old females involved with the Republican Party. But now Moms for Liberty has done it for me." Sounds pretty apolitical. So below the surface of their sending friendly-sounding name and politically vague taglines, they are an unapologetically extreme organization that has built a long record of harassment and controversy in a pretty short period of time. Some free advice out there for people who are not sure what their organization is about, whether it's called Moms for Liberty or Puppies for Ice Cream. It's worth looking into the agenda of an organization before joining it. Sometimes it may not be what you think.
Right, so that's Jen Psaki, and, oops, I'm going to turn off the video. I wanted to show you bits of that because she spent about, and it was long, but she spent about 4 minutes plucking all of these quotes about Moms for Liberty, and we know this game. We know that when someone like Jen Psaki goes on MSNBC and talks about all of these isolated incidents and cobbles it together to make Moms for Liberty sound like an extremist group, obviously that's the message that is going to be amplified. I will beg Jen Psaki to take a look at the pictures of the books that Moms for Liberty has wanted to remove from school libraries. They are, I mean, one example that comes to mind is the book Gender Queer, and there's, quite frankly, explicit pornographic comics. And Jen Psaki goes on a tirade about how, reasonable, here's my point. It is not unreasonable for parents to want to remove books with pornographic material from school libraries. It is not unreasonable for parents to want to band together to go to school board meetings. And yeah, there might be parents, few and far between, who get really frustrated because when moms and dads are trying to address school boards and educators about the concerns of their own children who are metaphorically inside the burning house of a school district that is beyond corrupt, yeah, moms and dads will get passionate. And I have been one of those moms who have gone to my former school district and got admittedly very passionate behind that podium talking because at that time, my children were in the burning house. And my children were the ones being corrupted, and my children's education was the one that was being, compromised and destroyed at the hands of, for lack of a better word, tyrants on the school board and school district where we used to attend school. And yes, there will be parents who get frustrated, but being reasonable means standing up for what's right and taking out the books that do not belong at school. And that's what organizations like Moms for Liberty are doing. And it's not unreasonable for parents to want to make sure that the students in their school district are learning and performing at grade level. I mean, right now across the board, nationwide, generally speaking, there is, I think maybe between 30 or 40, I keep seeing the numbers between 30 and 40% from kindergarten through 12th grade, 30 to 40% of students who are actually learning at and performing at grade level. And that is so very sad to know that our youth is not being educated, because that youth we know is going to grow up and not only be our future, citizens of the United States, but they're also going to be our future voters, our future doctors, our future engineers. This is important, and this is really emergency mode stuff. So I want to know your comments. If you have comments here, any comments of hope, any comments about the state of our education system and the organizations that are trying to course correct the ship before we hit the iceberg on the Titanic, so to speak. We just got to miss that iceberg, folks. I'm trying to load up the comments. I actually can't load up the comments because I want to always end on a positive note. Carl, yep, other countries are laughing at us because of our education. How about schools teach children the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and leave their gender alone? From Dwayne, Genderqueer is a sick book that nobody should read before the age of 14. I'm reading the comments. Lori, only lefty libs would believe Gen P. I'm reading the comments. These people who hate America should have to live in a third world country for 6 months. They would kiss the ground when they get back. Ridiculous, ridiculous. I'm reading. Pulled my kid out of California high school during COVID lockdown and never went back. All right, lots of comments here. Lots of comments from parents. I do want to end on a hopeful note. I'm looking for a hopeful comment. We lost 2 years of learning from Dwayne again. I want to leave you with some hope. And right now I'm not seeing any hope in the comments. However, I'm going to leave you with hope. And that hope is that we are all here together discussing this. And we are all here with eyes open as parents, now knowing what we're up against with our schools, with our backwards systems, especially here in California. I think the number one rule of fighting the good fight and course correcting all that may be wrong and destructive is to actually know what you're up against. And the past few years have really positioned us as parents and informed citizens to know what we are up against. And we might not win the fight immediately, but remember, it took decades and decades for all of this destruction to come to fruition. And it's quite likely going to take decades and decades for it to be reversed. And the primary way, in my humble opinion, as a regular mom raising kids in this very corrupt system, is our way out is through education. our CEO, Marissa Stride, off here at PragerU, often says education got us into this mess. As we see now, the education system was corrupted and hijacked by ideologies that do not belong in academic settings. So education got us into this mess, and education is going to get us out of this mess. And that is why we created PragerU Kids 2 years ago. We know that the education of our children can set this course right. We know that if children are actively raised and educated with values, with a cultural literacy based in knowledge, with a common language, and I don't mean vernacular language, I mean cultural literacy language that all of us share as Americans, stories that unite us, values that unite us, equality under God, freedom, hard work, perseverance, responsibility. These are all values that unite us as Americans and establish a cultural literacy that we can all feel a part of, to feel united as citizens, even if we have differences of opinions. We need a knowledge in civics. Our future generations need to be educated in civics. They need to be educated with financial literacy. They need to know how money works. They need to know how our government systems work. They need to know the foundations of our republic and how our republic was established to ensure that the people carry the power and elect the officials. These are all things that have been extracted out of the education system for decades upon decades, and we are seeing the poisoned fruit now. And the way that we can correct it, again, is through education. So all of you parents and teachers across the country, teachers especially in the state of Florida, our PragerUKids.com content is available for you and approved in the state of Florida to be used inside the classroom. Parents, even if your kid is in a corrupt public schools, we have videos, we have magazines, we have resources that are free for you to educate your children and fill in those gaps of education that are missing, that are so of such paramount importance for kids to learn, kindergarten through 12th grade. Subscribe for free at PragerUKids.com. If anyone has a message of hope, please leave it in the comments. We love to see it. This video will stay up. But until next time, I say thank you for your support, and I wish you a great summer ahead filled with education and joy for your family and lots of learning and lots of laughs. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.